Game difficulty, aka how hard or accessible games should be, is an internet argument that nowadays is relatively common. The argument is often framed as people who want everything to be made for children, fighting against elitist basement dwellers who want every single game to be like Dark Souls. And that's not true, at least most of the time. Often, a common solution is to just leave it to the game developer to decide. That way you can have games that have a ton of accessibility modes that actually work really well, like in the recent Prince of Persia game, as they were properly planned out and integrated, instead of just being an afterthought that some executive asked to be thrown into the game. But of course, some developers just won't add an accessibility mode, and for several reasons. 3 in fact. The first reason is the purely material one, and it's the time investment and even feasibility. Let's take a game like Kerbal Space Program. Now yeah, this game does have a cheat menu and difficulty modes for the career mode, but the actual hard part of KSP is actually flying to places through space, and that stays basically the same in every mode. So if you want to add an easy mode to KSP, how would you do it? Making the rocket engines more efficient would not help someone who can't fly them, or who can't do a rendezvous, or any of the other complex things you need to do in order to be good at the game. So what, you get the planets closer together? Obviously not, that would break everything. And balancing these changes so it's still fun would be extremely hard. So, Kerbal Space Program is inaccessible to people who aren't willing to learn how to play Kerbal Space Program. The second reason why easier modes aren't added is because they would basically end up removing or neutering the main challenge of a game, and that would devalue your experience while playing it. Yeah, putting some prime bullshit as the final level of a game can be frustrating, sure, but removing the challenge kind of distances you from the game's narrative. I mean, imagine there's this big build-up to a boss in a game, and you're ready to go in and fight him, but you're playing on easy mode, so you just skip the second and third phase of the boss fight, and it's really easy. But then you still see the cutscene and fanfare, as you've made a great stride to destroy the boss, even though you basically didn't do much of anything. Like, imagine if La Mulana wasn't completely bullshit, and instead had like a tiny amount of respect for the player. It'd be a lot easier to play, but it would stray away from its original mission, which was to be an accurate replica of how bullshit old puzzle adventure games were. Imagine if Rayman games just let you fly through obstacles like in Kirby games. Imagine if Dark Souls let you skip difficult enemies. If Don't Starve or KSP weren't completely impartial and unforgiving. It just wouldn't feel the same. Even if it's optional, it feels worse knowing that you're bashing your head into a wall that you can just at any point in time walk around, and be rewarded just the same. And even if the game walkthroughs that you can find online are kinda similar to easy modes as they explain the OP strategy, OP this, OP that, having them built into the game makes them harder to avoid than just not looking up a guide. Of course, now we hit reason number 3. A question that isn't brought up that much, but it definitely should be. Who is this for? Who benefits from this? The game's actual fans? Well, no, they're already fans of the media in question. Who this is actually meant to appeal to are the people who aren't really fans of the genre itself, but still want to experience the game without the effort required to actually play it. And hey, I get you, there are a few games which I'll probably never played myself, like a ton of indie horror games, and I've discovered something utterly revolutionary to anyone who argues that games should be easy to play for people who want to experience the game without actually playing it. They're called Let's Plays, or playthroughs, or whatever. You'll just look them up on YouTube, and you can watch a guy play the game for you. It's really nice, and it's much easier than nagging developers to add an easy mode. I recommend Manly Badass Hero if you want to watch horror games, personally. But these 3 reasons are all building up to a large pro-accessibility argument that just doesn't fly. You see, It's kind of like horribly insulting to artists to suggest that they need to change their art to appeal more to you personally. At the end of the day, this really just is an argument between artist intent and mass market appeal, where a lot of people don't really even know what they're arguing for. Arguing to make a game easier or harder are both arguments against artist intent. It doesn't matter if you're arguing to make Dark Souls easier or Kirby harder, they still both go against what the original artist intended. Imagine arguing that David Lynch should make his movies appeal to people who don't like David Lynch movies. Imagine arguing that George Orwell should have written about more cheerful things. Similarly, imagine someone arguing Kirby should be harder, or that La Mulana should be easier. It's just really insulting, right? Well, to some people, the artistic vision and intent someone has while making a specific piece of media, it doesn't matter. It just needs to appeal to them personally, depth and everything else be damned, so they can just consume it and move on to the next consumable piece of media without any trouble. No need for depth, no need for thinking. You see, a lot of AAA game executives argue that you should make media like that, because alienating any part of your audience means less money, so just make movies and video games that are the blandest and have the widest possible appeal. And, I mean, you can live your life like that. Watching the new Marvel movies and playing the new EA or Ubisoft games, moving to whatever is the new game or movie, and throwing away the previous one like it's worthless to you. But don't expect other people to agree with you or support your insatiable urge to consume, especially developers who actually have a vision which they want to see through to completion. So TLDR, if you skip to the end, which I do understand, while accessibility in games can be nice, not only is it really difficult to implement sometimes, not only can it devalue the game experience, and not only will it specifically not appeal to the audience that is actually interested in the game, but it also goes against the original vision of the artist making the work you're playing has. And arguing that the artist's vision matters less than your personal taste in media, and therefore media should appeal to you, is just insulting and disrespectful to artists who make the work that you thoughtlessly consume. It's just entitlement, and misunderstanding of art as a concept. Not all media is easily accessible, and we should make media more accessible, but what we mean by accessibility is the ease of accessing it, not the ease of you consuming the media in question. The nice thing about media is that there's way more of it out there than you could ever experience in your life. So, like, instead of wasting away sad that you'll never be able to play, like, 1 or 2 specific games out of a giant pool of them, there's over 1 million games out there. Surely you'll find something else you like. And maybe you'll like and subscribe.